Okay, I welcome all of you to Mind Your Own Becoming and those coming through, coming on, grateful for. But two or three things to make very clear that we do record. And so be aware that you are being recorded. And if you do not want to share, um, we really want to honor that. So raise your hand if you want to inquire or comment. It's just we want to honor if you choose not to, but if you want to, by all means, raise your hand. The recording of this meeting will be sent on Saturday to our whole MailChimp list for people that can't be on board to Thursday nights. So let's take a moment to center and recognize presence and the pure energy of whatever we ultimately define that presence as. But for me, it always comes through as intelligence, love, something that is undefinable, but that we can feel. And that when we learn to feel it, we experience something profound, that inner relationship to from whence we came, and that is the very essence of us. And that's the whole purpose of our journey, to remember
That's right.
that originating cause. So we enter in this evening with Sir Edward Miller and Ho'oponopono and the inner child, and we're all open, receptive, and willing to take it in. And so it is. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I present to you Edward Miller.
Hello, everyone. Okay, listen, I really do want some feedback, guys. I know that you guys, it's been 7 days, and in the last 7 days, something has come up that triggered, and it doesn't have to be anything big. It could be very tiny, but what it did do is it triggered some emotional reaction. I want to hear from you guys about what happened this week that you can remember that you had an emotional reaction to. Now, listen, I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah. Okay, Rosie D.
Yes, thank you, Rosie.
Okay, I got a ton of them because I've been reacting all week. um, sorry, I couldn't resist. But there have been several. I did a talk on Sunday, and Charles called me up after I was done and gave me a real readout about who I am, and it was extremely uncomfortable.
Ooh, very good. Very good. Oh, I love you. I love that. So, okay, so tell me about it.
Well, honestly, as Charles pointed out, I've forgotten most of it. But what I did with it was I use Ho'oponopono just to, one, forgive myself for the reactions, for
There you go. There you go.
the lack of being able to be present to the honor of the Charles.
Rosie, you got it. You got it, Rosie. That's
and
perfect.
it helps because it really creates an edge.
Yes.
And so just working through that. And Charles, I love you, and I feel so blessed by your affirmation of me. It's but it's also very uncomfortable.
I get it. I get it.
So
Get it.
that's how I've been using it. And I use it to go to sleep sometimes because
I do too. I do too.
yeah, I got so much going on in here. It's like, come on, just let it go.
I love that you share that you were uncomfortable this week. You were triggered and uncomfortable. That's beautiful. We're all had it. We all had moments in the past week where we were triggered and uncomfortable. Can anybody else share anything?
One quick comment. Everyone,
right.
please be on mute unless you're sharing. So it makes it for a better recording. So so anyone, yeah. So Debbie.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so mine was probably really a simple one, but it was on Friday, and I think that's why it hit me so much because you've just given us that assignment, and here I am. So we had a really good day on Friday. We'd gone to see a movie, and we had to stop at the grocery store on the way home. And this lady in front of us,
Oh, okay.
you know, she had this huge grocery order. And so now she's going through all her coupons with the cashier, making sure all this money was taken off, right? And it's like, okay, so that's number one, right? But the guy behind me is like dancing around. He is so impatient, talking about he has to get out of here to pick up his grandchildren. And it's like,
So one guy
whoa.
so let me ask you, let me go a little farther with you. So being in between one guy complaining about, how much time she's taking, and then in front of you is a woman taking lots of time to get checked. What did that make you feel like?
Well, it like pushed my button. I mean, it's like, she was taking a lot of time, but I could see she had a ton of growth. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want to leave the store until you've gotten all the discounts, and stores are great at that,
Yes.
not giving them to you. So we kind of understood that, but it was an inconvenience, but
Yes.
I couldn't let it ruin my day. But
Exactly.
this guy was just like, whoa, complaining about it's not going to do anything.
Nope. That's perfect. That's perfect. Is anybody else going to share about something that triggered an emotional reaction? Charles? Charles, yes, you.
The frustration of dealing with having to get a new printer and everything that went on with it, that was really draining,
What did it make you
completely
feel? What
draining.
did it make you feel like?
Not smart,
Oh,
because trying to get it set up, and other tech people not being able to do it either. The people I called with the printer not being able to, oh my God. And so where does that leave me? And this
yes.
morning,
That leaves me.
I did this moment of, okay, I did a Ho'oponopono, and yes, I can be led to what needs to be seen to do, and I did it. But the energy that was behind the frustration of not feeling smart, feeling dumb, and frustrated that you don't know how to do much of anything, do you?
Yes.
It's like Rosie, taking the comments of, will you please stop? And but uh, but it works when you really let go
Yes.
and go to that point zero that you reference, which is like putting it all in neutral, so you don't have a charge
Yes.
on it. And that's
Right.
how I see that point zero. That
Well,
you're
I
not
want you
going to be
guys.
charged.
Yes. I want you guys to be aware of when you're triggered, and feel the vulnerability, and say what you feel. Right now, I feel frustrated. Right now, I feel put upon. Right now, I feel angry. Right now, I feel overwhelmed. Right now, I feel distracted. You got to be able to, I guess that word, to confess your emotions, because that's the awareness. We sit in life and we don't know why we're acting the way we are. And we spend most of our time trying to explain it and defend it, and just kind of bear it. But the appropriate thing to do is allow yourself to feel it without a story of wrong, without judgment. So I just want to say that again. So we're going to get started. I've got a couple of videos and a meditation that I'm hoping we have time to do, but I'd like to get Susan or Rosie or somebody to help me with the slides tonight, because I just want somebody to be able to read through them, and then we're going to talk about them as we read through them. So Charles, let's get started. I want to share. Can I share? Oh, I'm sharing. Okay, I got it. I got it.
Hey Psych2Go fam, welcome back to another video. Before we start, we'd like to give a huge thanks for all of the love and support that you've given us. Psych2Go's mission is to make psychology and mental health more accessible to everyone. So let's begin. Have you heard of an inner child? In analytical psychology, the term inner child refers to an individual's childlike aspect. Your inner child is an unconscious part of who you are. Like everyone else, you were once a child, and that piece of you lives inside of you. Your inner child is a psychological reality that should be taken seriously. When dealing with an unhealthy childhood, you may have learned to internalize negativity. After repeatedly being mistreated, you might think you deserve to be treated poorly. In that way, your inner child can become wounded. You might not have gotten over the pain of that event, even if you think you did. If any of the following applies to you, you might have a wounded inner child. 1. You fear abandonment. Do you often worry that the people in your life are going to leave you eventually? Do you feel like you're unworthy of love? If so, you might unconsciously push people away because nothing anyone does can convince you that they are true and committed. You'd rather be alone than be abandoned. This common fear of abandonment is arguably one of the most damaging fears of all. Our behaviors and actions in current relationships are the result of old fears and learned concepts that took place in our childhood. 2, you have inappropriate guilt. Did your parents blame you a lot as a child? When adults make children feel responsible for things outside of their control, this can leave you with feelings of unnecessary guilt. Even in adulthood, when you've done something wrong, it's normal to feel guilt. However, when your unwarranted sense of guilt doesn't fit your current circumstances, this can be a sign of a wounded inner child. This feeling most likely means you were made to feel frequent guilt in your childhood, and you never healed from it. 3, you have trust issues. Were you constantly lied to, cheated on, or manipulated in your childhood? Since then, you're always wary of other people's intentions. To avoid experiencing the same kind of anxiety and heartache all over again, you develop trust issues as a defense mechanism. But the truth is, not everyone is going to mistreat you. And if you hold on to this belief that everyone will hurt you, it prevents you from getting close to people who do truly love you. Such issues often stem from a wounded inner child who learned early on that people can't be trusted. 4, you have a fear of setting boundaries. How much of yourself will you give to other people? Do you find it hard to properly enforce the boundaries you've set for yourself? Boundaries are the rules we create in our own minds to help us figure out how much we'll let other people get away with in our lives. Perhaps you're a people pleaser, unable to say no when someone asks you for a favor. You could be afraid to hurt their feelings, or maybe you're just not good at speaking your mind. This is another sign of a wounded inner child. Number 5, you get angry easily. Anger is a universal emotion that everyone feels at one point or another. In some cases, anger can be healthy to feel and express. But when a person regularly loses their temper and struggles to manage it properly, it signifies an underlying issue. Being overly angry can be the same as your inner child having a fit. It can mean that you're holding on to a time when your needs weren't met, or your circumstances were unfair and frustrating. Number 6, you have trouble letting things go. We bury our trauma and bring them with us from our childhood into adulthood, whether we want to or not. Do you continue to think about arguments long after they're over? Do you ruminate over bad things that happened even though you know you'd be happier if you just moved on? Or do you cling to things that are already over because it feels safer than accepting reality? This could all be because you're experiencing symptoms of the baggage that was left behind in your past. Did these signs help you recognize whether your inner child was wounded or not? By looking at your past trauma, it helps you understand your behaviors and gets you to the root of your fears. Healing your inner child starts with expressing yourself authentically and without shame. Respect, accept, and make peace with your past self, aka your inner child. If you found this video insightful, please like and share this. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more Psych2Go content. The references and studies you...
Okay, guys. So do any of you guys feel that you might have a wounded child in there? Yeah, I think we all do. I think that, one of the things that I want from tonight is I want us to start becoming aware of that child. Give a little attention back to our childhood and look at those stressful moments that the child you had to bear, the child you had to bear. Now, let me say something to you. It could be as simple as you were left at school late one day and your mother was an hour late picking you up. It could be that. I mean, I'm not telling you what the wound is, but whatever it is, I want you to start exploring that within yourself, because it really does explain some of our patterns, some of our behavioral patterns, some of our emotional patterns. So I want you to take some time, over the next couple of weeks and just pay attention to, go back to, we're going to do a meditation tonight. I'm going to try to make enough time for us to do the inner child meditation night, which I feel gives us a context for connecting with the inner child. Stana, did you say something? No. All right. We're going to go to the next video. The next video is very informative, and I want to get started with it so we can move on. All right. Somebody have their audio on?
Yeah, Stana, can you mute yourself?
Very good.
Hi, everyone. Dr. Nicole LePere, the holistic psychologist here. As always, thank you to all of my subscribers out there. Those of you who aren't yet subscribed, Hi, everyone. Dr. Nicole LePere, the holistic psychologist here. As always, thank you to all of my subscribers out there. Those of you who aren't yet subscribed, if you enjoy this video, please feel free to hit subscribe at the end. So today's video is on how to start healing the inner child. I broke it down into 2 steps to get us started. The first step is to accept and honor that you have an inner child, because we all do. The inner child is based on our past experiences, on our unmet needs, on our emotional wounds, on how we've learned to show up in the world, formed early in childhood. We carry that inner child with us, and it becomes a sort of lens through which we view our current adult experiences. Another reality that we all share as humans is most of us have had one or more of our needs, our physical needs, our emotional needs, and our spiritual needs not met in childhood. Now, again, this is not of ill intent of our parents. Quite often, these needs weren't met because we were raised by caregivers who didn't know how to meet their own needs in these areas. So they were only able to model what they themselves were capable of. We as adults are all carrying around some version of pain based on these past experiences of unmet needs that continue to affect our daily experiences as an adult. And that's just the reality. So the first step to start healing is just to acknowledge that and honor that reality, that we all have that small, childlike, emotionally reactive, hurt part of each of us based on our past experiences, even if they were decades ago. We all have it. So honoring that, the goal isn't to remove our inner child. Our goal now as an adult is to live with our inner child and to teach them some new tools. So our first step, remember, just honoring it. We all have one. It's okay. The second step is beginning to cultivate what I call a wise inner parent. Now, as I always say, this is not a one and done. This is more of a long-term step. How do we cultivate a wise inner parent? So not only are we accepting and honoring, we're allowing our inner child to be, we also want to accept what it's feeling, accept the emotions. A lot of us have an inner critical voice that, again, was maybe direct messages we got when we were younger. Maybe it was just an indirect feeling in our family, for instance, that certain emotions weren't allowed. Some of us then internalize a critical voice around our own feelings. We tell ourselves what we should and shouldn't feel, and we shame ourselves for what we do feel. As an adult, to cultivate that wise inner parent, we need to make space for whatever we're feeling and break the habit of shaming and learn how to accept and just be with what is there. Like a parent, just allow in your own emotional experience, whatever it is. We're complicated. Sometimes we feel a million ways about one thing, and sometimes those are conflicting ways. We feel positive and negative about one thing, and that's okay. We're complicated creatures. So we want to observe, we want to honor, and then we want to practice accepting what we see and not criticizing, diminishing, and validating like a lot of us do. So I hope this video was helpful. Remember, these are not one and done steps. We need to cultivate this whole process so that we can each begin to heal our inner child.
Okay. I want to ask, does anyone share with me an experience they've had where they shamed their feelings? They said to themselves, "Oh, I shouldn't feel that way. I shouldn't think like that," or I hate that I feel this way. Has anyone ever done that? Shake your head at least. Tell me, has anyone ever done that? Okay, good. Because I think it's natural to do that, but I think it's so harmful because it is containing our innocence. It's making us wrong. It's judging our innocence. And it's been done already. So what we need to do is whenever we feel what we feel, be aware of the feeling. If it is overwhelming, if it is something we don't want to feel, just be aware of it and become aware of our judgments about the feelings. Become aware of when the feeling, I don't want to feel that. That's not right that I feel that way. Become aware of that because that's another way of suppressing our inner self. And we want our inner self to be expressed at every opportunity. All right, we're going to go into now back into the presentation. Anybody have any questions or comments? Nobody? All right, let's go back into the presentation then.
Hi, everyone. Dr.
Okay. 7 things to heal and nurture your inner child. So we're going to talk about these things. 7 things to heal and nurture your inner child. So Susan, could you read the first one for me? Susan?
Yeah, I just was having problem unmuting myself, but I got it. I love you. As children, a lot of us believe that we needed to accomplish goals, get good grades, make the team, fill our older siblings' footsteps to be lovable. We may not have had parents who told us we deserved love, no matter what we achieved. Some of us may have had parents who considered showing love and tenderness to be a sign of weakness. But we can tell ourselves that we are lovable now. Say it whenever you see yourself in the mirror. Say it at any random moments. Love is the key to healing, so give it to yourself.
I love that. I love that. Can people relate to that?
Yeah.
Susan, do you mind?
No, I hear you. Oftentimes, when we feel hurt, we push down our feelings and try to act strong. For a lot of us, this stems from childhood when we frequently heard, quit your crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Ugh. But those feelings don't just go away. They fester inside of us, affecting the choices we make as adults until we make the conscious effort to hear them.
Very good.
I never acknowledged that I felt abandoned when my mom left, but I did. And I carried that into my adult relationships. To heal, I had to acknowledge how her leaving affected me. I had to give a voice to all the pain I suffered down back then, stuffed down.
Yeah, stuff down back then. Excellent.
Instead of suppressing the voice of your inner child, say, I hear you. We'll work through it. It's going to be okay.
Okay, and I want to stop for a minute because I love that. I love that. And I want to get some feedback. Rosie, you're laughing. That means you got to give me feedback. You're on mute. You're on mute.
I love it too. It just speaks to, it speaks to just my life and being able to reflect back. And well, today on the tennis court, a woman said that she loved playing tennis with me because I didn't get upset when I missed the shot. And I said, well, it wasn't always like that. and and cultivate a wise inner parent. And
Yes.
I love that idea. And just I'm going to go do a tennis tournament starting tomorrow, and you do make errors, and just rolling with the error. Life is, I'm finding that it's much, I enjoy the game now that every shot I'm not beating myself up. It's just, oh yeah, you missed a shot, next.
I love
And
it.
and life's like that. And so I love,
Learning to be easy on yourself.
yeah, and loving. It's about loving
It
me.
is loving. It is
It's
loving.
not about judging me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. All right, we're gonna go to the next one. Susan, I hope you can keep reading from me. You do such a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I hear you.
No, we did that one.
Oh, they did that one. Ah, you didn't deserve this. As children, many of us assumed that we deserved to be abused, shamed, or abandoned. We told ourselves that we were a bad kid, that we did something wrong, but that's simply not true.
Not
In
true.
many cases, the people who wounded us simply didn't know any other way. Perhaps my mom was beaten as a child, so it was the only way she knew how to parent her daughter. A child is innocent and pure. A child does not deserve to be abused, shamed, or abandoned. It's not the child's fault. And though we may not have had the capacity to understand this then, now as adults we do.
We do. We do. This is one that I deal with all the time. I had a very harsh mother. She thought she was making me a tough black man. And in doing that, she was really, really judgmental and critical on me. But in healing myself, I changed the whole context of my relationship with my mother. So I realized that she was loving and tender with me at times. And when she but she was also harsh, and that was okay because I love her and I'm so gifted to have her as my mother now. So it's but my point of view has evolved. So let's go to the next one. Susan.
I'm sorry. I've always been an overachiever. I considered slowing down a sign of weakness. Not too long ago, I was constantly stressed about not doing enough. I couldn't enjoy time with my kids because I'd be thinking about work. One day it dawned on me that since I was a child, I'd been pushing myself too hard. I never cut myself any slack. I would criticize myself if I simply wanted to rest. So I told my inner child I was sorry. She didn't deserve to be pushed so hard, and I don't deserve it now as an adult either. I've since allowed myself a lot more downtime, and my relationships with my loved ones have improved as a result.
I can relate to that so much. I spent most of my life as a doer. I always had to be doing something. And I valued my self-esteem was based on how much I felt I was getting done. So I was always in pursuit of doing, doing, doing. And I'm 66 years old now. I'll be 67 pretty soon. And I'm trying to figure out how to stop being so addicted to doing and allowing myself just to be present in the moment with what's available. And sometimes sit and look at a magazine for an hour. Sometimes not worrying about what has to be done and just be with myself in my heart. And those are things that this is where I'm at now. I'm seeing the the benefits of being present with myself instead of always having to be in pursuit of getting something done. Can anybody relate to that? Marcel, what were you gonna say?
Yes, thank you for that. I can relate to that. Of course, I can relate to all of them. But this one in particular, um, if growing up as a child back in Jamaica, if you weren't doing something, you would be called lazy. Sit down for an hour looking at a magazine. Oh, that's not done.
I
It's
know.
never done. So you must always, if you're even not really busy, you should just look busy. Yeah, there's way to
I
fake
don't know.
looking busy, like you're just holding
Exactly.
the mop in your hand, but you're not really mopping in the floor, you're not cleaning the floor. So I just cultivated that, and I become a doer.
Yes.
And of course, I would be flogged. I'd be flogged if yeah, really.
Now, when you don't want to do and you want to just be, do you have to fight your mind sometimes?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel it. I
Yes.
feel it, and that's why I end up doing all sorts of things, getting involved in all kind of things till when my son became old enough to realize what was going on, he said to me, Mommy, you know that you're slicing yourself too thinly?
He's a wise boy.
Yeah, because you was seeing me doing a dozen things and trying to be good at every one of them. And he realized that, Mommy, this ain't working. He ain't working.
Yeah.
But of course I didn't get it. I thought he was just being rude. I'm his mom and he's telling me all these things. So I could slap him, but yeah, anyway, I can identify with that.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. Mhm.
All right, let's go back to the presentation then.
I forgive you, holding shame and guilt. One of the quickest ways to destroy ourselves is to hold on to shame and regret. Feelings of guilt and shame are common among persons who grew up in dysfunction and must be resolved in order to heal and grow. Guilt, which can be toxic, is feeling bad about your behaviors. Shame, which is always toxic, has feelings bad about your worth as a person. With inner child work, you can resolve toxic guilt for when you blame yourself for things you were not responsible for, did not understand, or could not control. Examples can be a divorce, a loss of a job, death or sickness in the family members, loss of lover, or even our own illness. Feelings of guilt and shame are common among persons who grew up in dysfunction and must be dealt with in recovery in order to heal and grow. Guilt, which can be healthy or toxic, is feeling bad about your behaviors. Shame, which is always toxic, is feeling bad about your worth as a person.
Yes. Yeah.
Shame is when you feel bad about your worth as a person, believing that you are defective, unlovable, inadequate, or even bad. Shame is extremely painful because it is always with you and thus becomes a constant feeling of unworthiness that can impact your mood, relationships, and career.
Yes. This is the last
Shame
one.
and toxic. Did you want me to go ahead?
No, we don't have to go ahead.
Okay.
Let's do the last one here.
Okay. Thank you. Thank your inner child for never giving up, for getting through the tough moments in life together with you with strength and perseverance. Thank your inner child for trying to protect you, even if her way was holding on to painful memories. Your inner child doesn't deserve your judgment. She or he deserves your gratitude and respect.
Yeah. Can you guys feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you feel being grateful for how loving your inner child is, how wonderful they are, and how and what we're going to do now is something that we do all the time, which is the inner child meditation. You don't have to be your eyes closed, you can keep them open, but I do want you to pay attention to the guide. I want you to make first contact with your inner child and just go through the guided meditation and feel open and available. You can close your eyes, but just be available for what you're being guided into. This meditation has both binaural and isochronic brainwave. So it can help you to reduce your thinking mind and just be available for then what comes up and comes out of your heart. All right, so let's just get started. Let's get started with this meditation, and then we can get into some discussion about it afterwards. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, hold on. This is not working. Give me a second. We didn't test this. All right.
Your inner child.
I've got another version of it. Just stay right, hang in there. Here it is. It's gonna take a minute. It's downloading.
Soul Transync on nurturing the inner child.
It's not working for some reason. Wow.
To develop an intimate and compassionate relationship with yourself. Focus your attention on your heart,
Why
your
is it not
vulnerability,
working? Guys, somehow it's not
your
working.
inner child. Understand that your inner child holds all the memories in the subconscious mind. Some are positive and energetic, while others are painful and traumatic.
Hold on, guys. Give me a second.
This next 15 minutes is for you. A journey inside Soul Transync on nurturing the inner child.
Well, it's not going to work.
Soul Transync on nurturing the inner child.
Okay, it's not going to work today, guys. It is working.
To develop an intimate, passionate relationship with yourself. Focus your attention on your heart. Your inner child. Understand that your
So
inner
Edward, it's not coming through, at least for me.
Not coming through?
No, it's not.
Oh, well, let's let go of that. All right, I'm gonna stop it.
Yeah. A Ho'oponopono moment again.
Still not working, right?
No.
All right, well, don't worry about it. I'm gonna cut it off.
The inner child.
Okay. It's not, I don't know why it would turn off.
Compassionate relationship with yourself.
Before
Heart.
it was coming through.
Keeps, I'm sorry, guys, it won't stop.
Your inner child. Subconscious mind.
You still can't hear it, right?
Some are positive.
And I can't stop it.
It's just sporadic, Edward.
That's
I know, but I
sporadic.
can't stop it. For some reason, it's not stopping.
This next 15 minutes is for you.
I don't know what to do.
Journey
can you go back in? Because you're on the main screen. Can you go back into where
I'm
you were?
trying to.
And it won't let you do that? Dang. You know, Edward, just hearing your voice is soothing.
Okay, is it stopped? Is it stopped? Ah,
Nothing's,
don't know how to turn it off.
No, it's not.
I'm just trying to turn it off now.
Breathing, relaxing
I don't know
into your
why this is not
body.
just turning off.
yeah, it's
Okay,
just,
guys, I
it's
gotta
just
call
not coming
back in,
through.
Charles. I don't know what else to do.
Well,
Charles, I gotta
I
call
don't
back
think,
in.
oh, okay,
All right.
okay,
Yeah, I'll
well,
just call back in. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why it's not working.
okay. So we'll see how quickly Edward comes back, but I have an inquiry for him in regards to how I viewed the inner child and the wounded child, and I really see them as completely separate. I don't believe the inner child can be wounded. I think it's the child of innocence, the originating reality of who we are, and that we create a wounded child very separate from that innocence. But that's just my view, so I'd like to see what he has to say on that.
Yeah.
And I don't see him coming back on yet.
I have a question on that, Charles, as we're waiting.
Yes.
Your child. My perception of that, and it's just linguistics, the being that will never be harmed is my higher self,
Mhm.
which is not to me the inner child, because the inner child is a piece of the whole, but it
Yes.
isn't it whole, our higher self, then that cannot be injured. I don't know. I was just like, I sure felt
Yeah.
like my inner child was injured. I had a lot of healing. It was injured in my consciousness. But my higher self was never harmed because it was viewed from its original source of God. Does that make
That-
sense at all?
Well, it's kind of what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's that remember to
Oh,
remember that I use so much, and remember to remember the origin from whence we
mhm.
came.
Yeah.
And that origin is
Right.
pure life, pure energy, pure love. And then because we're in a dimension that we have choice as to how we perceive, then and here comes back Edward. But yeah, I think it's
I'm back.
Yay.
yeah.
I have no
Yay,
idea.
there you
I
are.
have no idea what was going on. But we'll get it, we'll fix it some other time. But let's talk about the inner child. You guys, we have a few more minutes, and I don't want to end having you recognize an inner child. I want you to now be aware of how we can nurture our inner child, how we can be aware of when we're triggered, that often what's being triggered is that inner child, and he's being triggered by something that occurred in our youth. And I can give you examples of how, I was a guy that was, I had a harsh mother, so I was always guarded. So whenever things get overwhelming to me, I'm usually guarded first, and fearful of somebody judging me or criticizing me. And that's kind of the way I start things. So I have to get beyond that often. I have to get beyond the feeling of being judged and inadequate or somehow not enough. And I have to nurture myself by telling myself, that's just a story. That's based on some old programming, and that I'm perfect. And thank you for that awareness. Thank you, the awareness that I'm nothing more than conscious awareness. I'm not this wounded, sad boy. I'm this universal minded, creative mind. And as I said before, all of us need to change the way we relate to ourselves and be willing to give up some old sad stories that we bared our whole lives. But we have to know that what we're bearing. We have to know what we're still believing. Do any of you guys have stories that you bear that you don't share with anybody? Things that you think about or things that matter to you that you don't ever want to let anybody know that you're stuck in? Susan, you're laughing.
I can't help but laugh. I've spent a lot of time, Edward, thank God, in good programs that have helped me get over a lot of the trauma and things I had growing up. And I've come to understand why they happened, but I haven't really let them hold me back. I've even, I forgive my father and my mother for how I grew up because they did the best they could. I had to look at what their childhood was like and realize that they gave me what they thought was the best
What they
the
could,
best thing
exactly.
for me. But my
So, Susan,
father,
when you get triggered now, how do you respond? What happens?
I get triggered now. Oh, I don't react right away. I'm good. I've learned not to just go off. If I get triggered by something that really hits me, I just all of a sudden I just kind of go quiet and I try to think about it and I try to think it through before I respond.
Yeah.
I have found that has saved me a lot of anxiety
One
and a
other
lot
thing
of
I would add to that, Susan, is allow yourself to feel it too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes if somebody has said something that felt very hurtful or hateful to me, I will stop for a minute to calm myself down so I don't react, and then I'll say, "Tell me, what did you mean by that? How does that affect you, or what were you thinking about, or how do you see me in that respect?" Because sometimes it's not at all what we're thinking. Like you were saying, we get triggered. And I may be triggered to something that has absolutely nothing to do with that person or what they said to me. It's just how it hit me. So it's better to ask the questions rather
I
than
agree.
assume
I agree.
that somebody else is doing something.
Is anybody else willing to share
Yeah,
tonight?
Edward, I have an inquiry for you, and I was sharing while you were off that, and I've shared this with you before, but that my perception for me of the inner child is pure innocence, absolute innocence. And it's also what I consider remember to remember, originating cause, pure love, the purity of that which was never harmed, is full, complete, and whole, and is the essence of what I really am.
Absolutely.
So I feel that that I've seen in my journey of the inner child, that inner child is what saved me always, because it is acting from inquisitiveness, discovery, openness. But I have also created that very wounded one that I can give predominant reality to in such a way that I carry it through my life. And so the journey is to return, remember, return to that innocence, return to that inner child of purity and light and love, and
Wouldn't you
clear
agree, Charles, that it's
that.
also in develop? Wouldn't you agree also, Charles, that it's a relationship you develop with yourself? How you nurture that
Yeah, well, it
child?
absolutely is. Yeah, it's like between the all that we carry that is untrue about us, and into the adult journey, the adult life that
Yes.
we've come to believe and that we pass on. And I love what Susan said, that a part of that journey is learning to not have immediate reaction, but learn to have a step back and pause button that doesn't have to be a long one, but like, okay, let me
Yes.
breathe. Let me step back a moment and breathe into response and not immediate reaction,
Yeah.
but to still be aware of the feeling that was
Absolutely.
going on. But so it's just, I think,
Well, I don't think
semantics.
it's, when you
And
say semantics, I think there's the inner child, there's the innocent child,
yes,
and the innocent child is the unblemished child. That's the truth of who we are. We are
yes,
unblemished. We are
yes, we
unaffected.
are that.
We are open space. We're zero.
Mhm.
But the human child
Yeah. Okay.
has had to bear things,
Yes.
disappointment, hurt, abandonment, all those things is that the innocent human child had to bear.
Yeah.
So this relationship is developing a new relationship with that child, the one that had to
Yes.
take on
I agree.
things, the one that had to survive.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'd like to contribute something here.
Please,
Yes,
Mrs. Joan.
what you're saying is so true that we need to develop a relationship with the inner child. And that doesn't mean we have the inner, what I do is I have my clients get a picture of themselves at the age of approximately 5 years old, put it in a very special frame, a beautiful frame, put it on a special table just for them,
Yes.
and by my bedside. And every morning when I get up, I say, "Hi, sweetheart.
Yes.
Well, what we're going to have fun today." In
Yes.
other words, what we're going to do with that child is reparent it by
Thank
loving.
you, Joan. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Yes, and I used to go to, the Walt Disney store and buy myself little ceramic figures like Snow White and, Goofy and all the little characters, and bring her home pieces of stone I would find on a walk, or a pretty flower. In other words, I love that child
Thank you.
physically, mentally, psychically, every single day. And I think that really helps a lot.
It makes you a more emotionally mature.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with the actual child within,
Yes.
and everyone has an inner child. I don't care who you are.
No, everybody has an inner child. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody. It works a lot more with women because women are the only ones that seem to be available for this kind of work. You're an exception, Edward, because you've delved into this. But I've had very few clients, although I'm getting more clients now with men because I think their consciousness is changing
I think
recently.
it is too.
Yes, they're getting more
Men generally
open.
are told to feel their feelings.
Yes, that has changed recently, I'd say in the last 10 or 20 years.
I agree.
And that's been mirrored by the women's movement, the Black movement, and all of those movements that are saying, okay, it's time to be real here and face our demons and face what's really happening to us and get it out there and heal it.
Yes.
But men are now more open to that, thank God.
I think men are open to it. I think that, my friends, if you're going to be my friend, you're going to talk about your feelings. And I have these big, gruff looking men that I've been friends with for 20 years or so, and I make them tell me how they feel. Because, men generally just want to tell you a story. Well, this happened and that happened. But I'm like, how do you feel? How does that feel? Are you feeling vulnerable? So I have to edge them, but then they give me an opportunity. Then they share with me what they feel, and they feel good about that. They feel good about letting it off their chest and being allowed to validate what they feel. That feels good for men. Women you're right. Women are more used to that.
Right.
Thank you,
Yeah,
thank you,
we're
thank you,
we're
Joan.
pretty close to 6. Melinda,
Yes.
did you want to share
Did you have something to share, Melinda?
something?
Nope, nope.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just taking it all in.
All
okay,
right.
great.
Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you. I enjoyed this. I'm sorry my final video didn't work. Not video, but audio meditation didn't work because it's a wonderful way in order to have a first contact with your inner child. But I'll be back on, and Charles, I guess I'll be on in a couple of months, and I'll share.
Yeah, and you'll be on working on the focus on non-duality,
Yes,
and
non-duality. Yes, yes, my favorite stuff.
yeah, and we are going to next week. We have the special guest of Reverend Martha Creek, who has been on before. She brought a lot of her audience with her, and again, the whole focus this month has been on the power of the path of transcendent love
Yes.
to world healing. And that's really what we're talking about. When you do the inner work on that inner child and upon clearing all that keeps us in bondage to reaction and untruths and open to what can liberate us to awareness and insight about ourselves. And so, as always, I'm so grateful, Edward. Thank you so much. And for everyone that tuned in tonight, my gratitude and my love and my appreciation. So take tender care of you, because that inner child so delights in you wagging your tail every day. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Edward. Thank
Okay.
you,
Thank
Charles.
you.
Bless you all. Thank you.